Greetings, darlings. This is Annette of AnnetteLeonard.com, back with Chronic Wellness. And today I'm talking to you about pride because it is the tail end of June, and June is Pride Month. And as I speak to you about on this channel frequently, I'm queer. Queer is a $3 bill. And I talked to you about my wife. I have talked to you about my bisexual identity. And if you dig back into the archives of this channel, you will find my coming out monologue, which is filled with hijinks and hilarity. So I recommend that if you haven't watched it yet. And I came out as a young adult at a time when the world was less friendly, when our country was less friendly toward being gay. And I didn't come out to my mother for 3 years after I was in a relationship with the woman that is now my wife. Because if I wasn't sure that this was like a real thing that I was going to be doing, I didn't want to tell her because I knew that she was not going to be supportive. And it was so painful for that to be true, and so separating and isolating to not have a relationship that I could talk about with everyone in my life, to not be sure who was going to celebrate with me and who was going to other me. And what happened in our case was that it meant that I forged a kind of internal strength, and I learned how to stand on my own with a kind of independence that I hadn't had before. And so there were some positives, even in the face of bigotry, negativity, hatred. And y'all, there has been plenty of all that. And I have learned to be really proud. I was talking on Instagram Live today with a dear friend of mine about these queer identities, and just talking to her about the fact that one of the things that happened in these years of illness and since getting off the transplant list is that I decided I was going to have a new hairdo, and I started dyeing my hair and wearing it in this fashion. And prior to that, I was always, if I was out on my own, meaning not holding hands with my wife, identified as heterosexual. You know, that I am effeminate enough that I dress in such a way and come across in such a way that people's assumption of me was generally heterosexual. I think that is our default, right? You know, heterosexual, presumed heterosexual until proven otherwise. And that I knew when I started wearing my hair this way that I would be overriding that presumption with a lot of people, and that was okay with me, right? That I was trading in some of my heterosexual privilege happily. And I wasn't sure whether I would have had the courage to do that if I was still in the 9-to-5 working world, if I was still in my professional environment. And I live in a pretty welcoming place. I know that there are lots of places that I wouldn't necessarily feel safe with this haircut. And how grateful I am that I do, and that there are rock stars like Pink and trailblazers, heterosexual and gay, that have made this a less shocking hairstyle. But this is just a meditation on pride, and that I am proud of this identity. I am proud of being a part of this group. And who can say if I were going back and, selecting my life on a computer screen, what I would have picked. But what's that saying? Wouldn't trade nothing for my journey now. Like, no, I wouldn't. This has been illuminating and eye-opening, and I had a lens into marginalization that is different than my siblings who are not white, and is also different than my lens now as a person with disabilities, and was different than the lens into disability by working with individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing. And yet it's also nice to be on the inside of a group where when I see other queer folks, yeah, I give them a wink or a head nod. And I don't know all about their lives because I'm also gay, but I know something about their lives because we have that in common. And so on this, the tail end of June 2021, what are you proud? What identity are you proud of that maybe you don't always share with others? And no, these things are not the whole of who I am. Sometimes I think my being bisexual or queer is one of the least interesting things about me. And yet, until it is a non-issue, until we aren't even talking about it, until nobody cares who we love, it's something we have to talk about. So thank you for listening for a few minutes and letting me give over my podcast today to talking about pride. I hope there are people in your life that you are supporting and that you are loving through their coming out stories about being gay or other aspects of their identity that they are trusting you with. Thanks for being here. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And until we're together again, thank you and be well.